Greetings, trombonist at large. I am the Vagrant Trombone, here today to talk to you about an instrument that got some interesting questions the last time I played it. I was doing a Brahms Symphony, Brahms 3, last week with a small orchestra, and I played it on my Jinbao Alto Trombone. And a number of people came up and asked me some questions. And then after they had asked me questions there, I continued to receive emails about my instrument. And I thought maybe I would take the opportunity to talk about it here today. My Jinbao Alto trombone is was kind of an experiment. The alto trombone and I go back quite a ways. And my first alto trombone wasn't mine. I had a long-term loan from a former teacher, and I used his alto trombone for a number of years. And as I moved up in my playing, I started to play mostly bass trombone. So as a bass trombone player, I didn't really need to play alto anymore. So I returned it, and I didn't have much use for alto until a few years back when I started to play tenor trombone again. And I started to look into it, and the new plastic alto trombone had just come out, and so I went and I eagerly awaited one to arrive at a music store near me, and I went and I tried it, and I didn't like it. So I had decided that I would save up some money and buy myself a new alto trombone. But one of the things that I was seeing was that some of the Chinese manufacturers were making alto trombones, and they were fairly well accepted. And I thought, I have a little extra money. I may as well have an experiment. If it's a total dog, I can just toss it and, maybe resell it for half of what I put into it. It won't really matter. So I located a fairly reputable dealer through a repairman friend of mine, and ordered this Jinbao Alto trombone through him. And it arrived, and I popped open the case, and there it was. I put it together, and I played it, and you know what? It was pretty good. It was pretty good right out of the box. And I had done some reading on it already, and so I sent out for a new lead pipe for my instrument. And though the slides were good right out of the box, there were some issues that I had with them. They were slightly sprung and a little out of alignment. So I could kind of bend them back, but I thought it would be better to have a real professional put some heat on them and make sure that they don't, over time, decide to go back to the way they were. And another problem I had with it was the stockings. The ends of the stockings were really sharp. It looked like after they had put them on the mandrel, they had just cut them off, just turned them off. And so not only were they really sharp, but they were really thin as well. And that kind of made me worried. I was worried that I might, putting on the slide, might chip them or bend them, and then they would score the inside of my inner slide. I didn't want that to happen. So even though the slides were pretty good right out of the box, there were some things I wanted to have changed. So I sent the slides to a repairman, and he took them and he ground them just ever so slightly on the ends and tapered them so that they wouldn't be as sharp and that they would be able to go back on. And he also polished the upper tube, which really made them work really well. It was a really nice upgrade on the instrument. And I ended up with a pretty decent little alto trombone. And the thought of spending money on another alto, I was looking at a used alto at the time, was about $1,000. A little more than $1,000 is what the asking price was, but I thought I might be able to get it for. Anyway, that instrument really didn't play that much better than this. And so I decided I just wouldn't do that. And I've been playing this for quite a while now. And I don't really feel any need to make any changes anytime soon, really. I would like to upgrade to a better alto just because I have played better altos, and sometimes there's some things I miss. But right now, this works just fine for me. And I would recommend getting a Jinbao Alto. But I wouldn't recommend doing it the way that I did it. I would not recommend doing it that way. Like I said, I got my instrument from China, and I popped open the box, I took it out, I put it together, I played it, And the first thought that went through my mind was, what can I do to make this better? And that time that I spent waiting for parts or sending out the slide and waiting for it to come back, which was, not a short period of time, I would have rather to have spent a little bit more money and bought an alto from the horn guys. They have Steve. I would have just called Steve up and said, "Hey man, send me an alto," because after all was said and done, after shipping costs and replacement parts and work done on this, I really didn't save that much, and I feel that that money would have been better spent on me being able to pop open that case, pull out that horn, and know that it was about as good as it's going to get, and just be happy to play. The extra money spent would have been worth it for the amount of time that I would have been able to spend, the amount of time more that I would have been able to spend with the instrument when I first got it. And if you are thinking about getting an inexpensive alto, it's a good way to go. The little Jinbao is a good way to go, but again, I would purchase mine from the horn guys. Another option is Noah Gladstone at the Brass Ark. The Brass Ark, he has sold most of the trombones that I've sold used. Most of my old trombones that I've sold have been sold by Noah through Brass Ark, and he gets some really nice instruments in from time to time. And if you can afford to spend more, I'd recommend that you spend more and get yourself a decent alto. The reason why is because my belief is I have two concerns when I purchase an instrument. One is I want the best instrument that I feel I can afford, because the best instruments usually play better. And if it's an instrument that I'm not going to play very much, like alto trombone, I play it twice, 3 times a year in the last few years. It's an instrument that I want to be able to, when I do get called to play it, ramp up quickly to a good performance level. And a better instrument is easier to do that on. So it's not as detrimental, the amount of time that it'll take for me to really get good on that instrument again, so that I can go out and perform on it. The second thing that I take into account is cost and return. Now, fortunately, on my little Jinbao, I have made my money back pretty quickly, a couple of times over now, in fact. But even if I had gone for the more expensive option, I would have still made my money back. And so sometimes for some people, spending a large amount of money on an instrument you're not going to play very much isn't really an option, because you're never going to recover that amount. But if you do have the extra money, I recommend spending it. Many years ago, when I was learning to play alto, I got called for a big choral festival, and we were playing a Mendelssohn piece. I was called to play tenor trombone. Now, the contractor, she originally asked me if I played sackbut. The conductor had requested sackbut. And I said, no, I don't, but I do play alto. And she said, no, that's okay. I have an alto trombone player. He said that he will play alto. And so if you can play tenor, that would be great. So I said, sure. I have a nice small bore tenor that I can use. And so on the first day of the rehearsal and concert, on the rehearsal, I showed up and set up my little box 6, my 45 bore box 6. And when the first trombonist arrived, he took out his Bach 8. And so we were sitting there with our tenor trombones. The bass trombonist had his little single valve con. And the conductor came out and he smiled, looked at everybody and regarded. And then he picked up his baton and said, "First trombone, is that a tenor trombone?" And the first trombonist, said, yes. And the conductor then asked, "Will we be playing alto trombone at the concert this evening?" To which the first trombone said, "Yeah." So the conductor then said, "Very good." And he went, and we started the rehearsal. Well, of course, the first thing the first trombonist asked me at break is, "Hey, Bryant, did you bring your alto trombone?" To which I said, "No." And there was no real way for me to go home and get it, nor was there any way to get it to the venue before we had to play the concert. But not only that, he didn't own an alto trombone, so how good would he have played it if he did have it? So as a principal trombonist, if you have eyes to do that, rule of thumb, Never accept a gig on an instrument you don't own. And if they request it, make sure you bring it. So, yes, if you have interest in being a classical trombonist and principal trombonist, you're going to need to own an alto trombone. And again, I would suggest you own the best instrument that you feel you can afford to buy. But in the event that you don't have a lot of money to spend, this is a very viable, good option. Now, as far as my little Jinbao goes, is it a perfect trombone? No, it's not. It's got some machining marks on it, and the lacquer is coming off, and there were some spots where there wasn't even lacquer on it when I got it. And there's a burn mark on the bell where they were when they were manufacturing it, and it's under the lacquer now, and so the lacquer wants to kind of peel away from that spot. But overall, it's a good playing little horn, and I like playing it. Pretty nice little sounding trombone, not bad at all. So, well, that's about all I have to say about alto trombone, and I hope you found this video informative or interesting, and maybe I'll see you at Brahms 4 in 2018. Until then, thanks for watching.